The broadcast of the regular meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustments will now begin.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this live broadcast of our virtual meeting today, February 4th, 2021. This meeting includes the remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021 due to the declared local health pandemic. For the record, my name is Matt Perry and I'm Chair of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. I will now call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll so that we may verify the presence of quorum.
Finlayson.
Aye.
Hutchins.
Aye.
Johannesson.
Aye.
Ogiba.
Yes.
Berry.
Aye.
Sandberg.
Aye.
Softly.
Aye.
Karova.
Aye.
Wang.
Aye.
9 members present.
Thank you. We have quorum. So with that, we'll proceed to our agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access to the city's legislative information management system available at lims, lims.minneapolismn.gov. Is there a motion to approve this agenda?
So moved, Sandberg.
Second, Finlayson.
It's moved and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Finlayson.
Aye.
Hutchins.
Aye.
Johannesson.
Aye.
Ogiba.
Yes.
Perry.
Aye.
Sandberg.
Aye.
Softly.
Aye.
Smikarova.
Aye.
Wang.
Aye.
That's 9 yeas.
And with that, the motion passes and we have an approved agenda. I believe all of the board members have seen a copy of the minutes from the January 21st, 2021 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Finlayson.
Second, Sandberg.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Finlayson.
Aye.
Hutchins.
Abstain due to absence.
Johannesson.
Aye.
Ogiba.
Yes.
Perry.
Aye.
Sandberg.
Aye.
Softly.
Aye.
Smikarova.
Aye.
Wang.
Aye.
That's 8 yeas and 1 abstention.
And so that motion passes and we have the minutes from the Zoning Board of Adjustment January 21st, 2020 meeting approved. Mr. Ellis, are there any petitions or communications?
Chair Perry, members of the board, just as a quick update on the reappointments. The reappointments are going forward to the City Planning Commission Committee of the Whole on next Thursday, February 11th, and from there they'll cycle forward. We'll have the staff in question or the board members in question at the time don't need to attend that or even the Planning Commission, but it would be kind of nice if they attended the Biz Committee, and we'll work on getting their attention, because usually at Zoning and Planning Committee they have the board members say a few words if they wanted to introduce themselves, and often some of the council members just like to see a name to a face and congratulate people on public service. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ellis. Are there any questions of Mr. Ellis on the appointment process? I see none. All right, thank you. Let's review the agenda, and I'll talk about what discussion items are. We have the items that the recommended disposition of the items on our agenda are either to be continued or discussed. We don't have any consent items, so I won't be talking about what those are today. Discussion items are those items for which the board will take public testimony, deliberate on, and make a decision. After the public testimony has been heard for each particular discussion item, I will close the public hearing for that agenda item. Once I close the public hearing for an item, no additional public testimony will be taken, but staff may be asked to address board questions. After the public hearing for an item is closed, board members will then discuss and act on motions, and the chair only votes in the case of a tie. So the recommended dispositions of our land use requests agenda items are agenda item number 5, which is 1130 Washington Street Northeast. This is a discussion item. Agenda item number 6 is 519 Cedar Avenue. This is also a discussion item. Agenda item number 7 is 30 Park Lane. We've got a couple of things going on here with this item. The applicant is withdrawing their requested variance regarding the attached front-facing garage. Approval of the agenda acknowledges this, and no further action on this variance need be taken by the board. The applicant is also requesting the remaining variances for this item be continued to our February 18th, 2021 meeting, which is one cycle, and we can talk more about this when we discuss requested continuances. And then finally, agenda number 8 is 5401 Wentworth Avenue, and this is a discussion item. So we have no items on consent, but we do have this item that is being requested, or these variances that are being requested. This is for 30 Park Lane, agenda item number 7. And as I said, they're requesting the continuance to go to our February 18th, 2021 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. I'd like staff to give a little bit of background on the reason for the request for this item being continued.
Thank you, Chair Perry and members of the board. As you said, they are withdrawing the one request regarding the attached front-facing garage, but would still like to pursue the other three listed variances in the staff report. The request for continuance specifically is so they can have enough time to prepare some revised plans that reflect this change. They will be modifying the design of their proposed house slightly to bring it into compliance with those requirements for an attached front-facing garage. And so that is the reason for the request for continuance. This was only brought to our attention after the staff report was published, and public notices were issued in preparation for tonight's hearing.
Okay. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the continuance of this item? I hear no one. Is there anyone here who would speak against this item? Is there any board comment? Is there a motion to continue the land use requests for 30 Park Avenue Lane to our February 18th, 2021 meeting?
So moved, Finlayson.
Second, Sandberg.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Board Member Finlayson.
Aye.
Hutchins.
Aye.
Johannesson.
Aye.
Ogiba.
Yes.
Sandberg.
Aye.
Vice Chair Softly.
Aye.
Smikarova.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
That's 8 yeas.
And that motion passes. So the land use request for 30 Park Lane will be continued to our February 18th, 2021 meeting. Thank you very much, everyone, for that item. And we move on to our discussion items. Our first one is is number 5, and I think that is Miss Brandt who is presenting that. 1130 Washington Street Northeast.
Good afternoon, Chair Perry, members of the board. As mentioned, this is the application for a variance at 1130 Washington Street Northeast. They are requesting a variance to reduce the district and established front yard setback from 20 feet to 16 feet in order to convert a portion of an existing open covered front porch to enclosed space, which will be part of an existing bedroom. The lot is an interior mid-block parcel in the Sheridan neighborhood, approximately 5,570 square feet in area. The parcel is zoned R2B multiple family district with the built form interior 2 overlay district. There's an existing duplex on the site, which was constructed sometime prior to 1900. The existing structure is conforming to setback regulations with the exception of the north interior side yard setback, which is fairly common for historic built form for houses to be set closer to their north side. But with regards to the other setbacks, including the front of the house, is entirely conforming. The house did recently receive approval for some interior remodel as well as a side addition towards the rear of the house. The surrounding area is largely residential, also has the R2B zoning district, predominantly low intensity detached residential uses. And there is a commercial node at Broadway and Washington, which is approximately half block south of the subject property. IT, could we move to the next slide, please? Thank you. With regards to the required findings for the variance, staff has found that practical difficulties do not exist on the site. The lot is a standard size and dimension with a typical layout of a house and garage. As well, it is quite flat. It's true that the applicant did not create the condition of where the house sits on the site, but a conforming structure is not a practical difficulty. The fact that there's a front-facing window into a bedroom is not a unique condition that prevents compliance with the ordinance. Additionally, the layout of the window in the bedroom as it exists is compliant with regards to building code for bedroom egress. The proposal meets the guidance of the 2040 comprehensive plan, but is found to not be in keeping with the spirit and intent of the ordinance, which is to provide for orderly development and provide access to light, air, and open space. The existing open covered front porch is a permitted encroachment into the required front yard, largely because they don't, an open front porch doesn't add building bulk. So by enclosing it, they would move the massing of the house farther forward, closer to the front lot line, and quite a bit farther forward than the house directly to the south. The proposal would not alter the essential character of the locality, which is considerably varied in terms of its built form, and would not present a detriment to health, safety, or welfare of those utilizing this property or neighboring properties. And I am available for questions.
Thank you for that presentation, Ms. Brandt. Are there any questions of staff? I see no one. And so with that, I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this? I think we have the applicant in queue. And if you would like to speak first, you press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Stephen Connie, the homeowner of the 1130 Washington Street residence. Alyssa did a great job describing the situation with the current duplex. It's an up-down duplex. So the Unit 1 on the first floor has this wall looking and window looking into their bedroom space directly. It's on a shared porch, so previous residents or previous tenants told me their security concerns with that, just being on a shared porch and the window being quite low, so very easy to see into. The goal, obviously, I want to provide safety and security to tenants of those residents. So partially enclosing the current open air front porch is the goal. That would create essentially an alcove space for the egress window for that bedroom, but the window would not look directly into the bedroom space, so providing a bit more security. The window would also now be pushed to the exterior wall on the outside of this kind of open air porch. So now it is tall, it's relatively taller to see into. So it's harder for people to see into and provides a bit more privacy, safety there. Again, we are not eliminating the total portion of the open air front porch, just enclosing a portion of it as Alyssa described. I've worked with the neighborhood organization quite a lot, with Karen Peterson, who I think is on the call as well. But getting their approval, working with them with the design as well. I've gotten my approval or notified my north and south neighbors of the changes via text message and calling. They are on board with the changes and providing that security to the tenants.
All right, Mr. Connie, I will just ask you, thanks for the testimony, by the way. I'll just ask you what you see as your practical difficulty or your hardship, something that's unique to the property. It sounds like you've done a good job getting support and reaching out to people, engaging people from the neighborhood organization and your neighbors. And but what we need to do as a body is find for these legal findings, and one of them is practical difficulties or something unique about the property that where the code then presents a hardship. So do you have anything to say or speak to that particular finding?
Yeah, my biggest practical difficulty I felt was just providing, essential safety and security for tenants of the dwelling space, and providing a safe bedroom location for them. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of Mr. Connie? From the board, I see none. Thanks again for your testimony.
Thank you.
And I think we have next in queue is Ms. Peterson. If you could press *6 to unmute your phone.
Yes, good evening. Am I on?
You are on.
Excellent. Good evening. My name is, good evening, Chair Perry and Commissioners. My name is Karen Peterson. I am the president of the Sheridan Neighborhood Organization. It is in that capacity that I testify in support of Steve Connie's request for a variance at 1130 Washington Street Northeast. In the interest of all, I'm going to dive right in. We believe that practical difficulties do exist, much as with an earlier variance request in the Sheridan neighborhood, in that this problem existed when the house was purchased, but Steve only became aware of this when his tenants informed him of the serious security issue. Steve inherited a problem and proposes a perfectly reasonable solution that will solve serious issues of security from tenants without, excuse me, I lost track of myself. Serious tenant security without serious tenant security, serious enough that mere window treatments will not solve the problem, short of putting bars on the windows. And nobody wants to see bars on the windows unless it's a basement egress. And the solution is simply simple to further enclose an already enclosed porch. So the impact is really on the structure will be fairly minor. As to the issue of massing, a survey of the block itself demonstrates that massing and front yard setbacks on this block are incredibly varied. Steve's neighbor immediately to the north is a two-story building, solid massing, up front, little front yard setback. Immediately to the south is a short single-family home with a larger front yard setback. Next to them is a large three-story single-family home, a little bit of a front yard setback, but with balconies that further reach to the front sidewalk, so it adds to the massing effect. If you cross the street, the two homes there are greatly massing. They're completely enclosed front yard porch, and one has a fully solid stone fence border. So the whole thing looks like a fortress. My point by bringing all this up is that enclosing a part of an already enclosed porch on such a varied block will have little or no impact on the character of this street. We believe, Sheridan neighborhood, that this is again an issue of that there is practical difficulty in that you can't move a house and you can't push it back. You could move some windows perhaps, but the safety and security of tenants will be the utmost in this issue. And we don't want bars on the window, but we want tenants to be safe. So that is my issue there that I think, so I'd be happy to take any questions. Apologies for stammering around on that. Thank you for your time and thank you for your helpful consideration of this.
Thanks for your testimony. Are any questions of Ms. Peterson? I see none. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? I don't think there's anyone else in the queue. But I'll ask if you're here to speak for item number 5, press *6 and unmute yourself, and we'll take your testimony. I'm hearing no one, so with that, I'll close the public hearing. Board comment. Mr. Ogiba.
Thank you, Chair Perry, and thank you to the applicant and Ms. Peterson for their testimony. While I'm certainly sympathetic to the request for this variance, I believe the city staff was fairly clear and direct in their belief that a security concern for this window does not qualify as a practical difficulty in order for us to grant the variance in the narrow set of circumstances and focus that we have the opportunity to do. So I think with that, being the focus of concern of the applicant as well as the neighborhood association, I don't see much of other choice other than to agree with city staff's findings in this case. I'm certainly open to other comment from my fellow board members, but that's how I sort of see what we heard today.
Thanks for those comments. Ms. Smakarova? I'm going to get this yet.
I believe
Smakarova.
Good. I agree with fellow board members Ogiba's comments. I would add that I think maybe lifting a window or adding a smaller window in its place might solve some of the problem. I do recognize how uncomfortable it is to be at ground level in your bedroom, but there are plenty of properties that have been built that way, that exist that way, and I would hate for, not that we can control the future, but I would hate for someone else to come along and actually want an open air porch, and now it's been enclosed. So there's considerations both ways, but I wonder if adjusting the window height in some way, making it smaller, might be a solution. But I do also agree with staff's findings.
Thanks for those comments, Ms. Markov. Anyone else? Mr. Sandberg.
Yes, thank you, Chair Perry. I think we've had a similar issue to this where we granted a variance to enclose an open porch in an area where there were bars and restaurants nearby that created a lot of activity on the street. I didn't hear that claim in the presentation of the applicant this time, so I still tend to agree with staff in this case.
Thanks for those comments, Mr. Sandberg. Mr. Softly, you'd like to make a motion?
Thank you, Chair Perry. I'd move staff's recommendation and deny the variance request.
There is a motion to move staff recommendation and deny the request. Is there a second?
Second. Hutchins.
I didn't get who did the second.
Hutchins.
Hutchins? And so that's seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Board Member Finlayson.
Aye.
Hutchins.
Aye.
Hannison.
Aye.
Ogiba.
Yes.
Sandberg.
Aye.
Softly.
Aye.
Adova.
Aye.
Wang.
Aye.
That's 8 yeas.
And so with that, the motion passes and the request is denied. Mr. Connie, you can talk to staff to see about what your options are going forward. Let's move on to our next item. This is item number 6, 519 Cedar Avenue. Mr. Liska.
Good afternoon, Chair, board members. This item before you is 519 Cedar Avenue regarding Reef Kitchens. The current site is a surface parking lot. There's a landscaped yard that exists between the public sidewalk and right-of-way and that surface parking. This section of Cedar Avenue is also a goods and services corridor. The applicant is proposing to establish a mobile catering kitchen on site. It is essentially a trailer. It's 24 feet long, 8.5 feet wide, and 11 feet tall. The current business model relies on automobile pickup of food prepared in the kitchen. Today, there is no walk-up service proposed, although this variance request is not for that business model, but rather for the specific enclosed building requirement associated with the zoning code. Next slide, please. Again, the land use application before us to the enclosed building requirements. Here's the site plan. The rectangles on the bottom are indicating those mobile food units, similar to a food truck, albeit a bit different. When we're looking at food trucks, typically those are fine on parcels as accessory uses. It's not uncommon to see food trucks on, bars, distilleries, similar uses like that, where there's a principal use and then that food truck is an accessory use. For this application, you can't have an accessory use like a food truck to a surface parking lot. So that becomes a principal use, and that principal use is held to enclosed building requirements associated with the zoning code, and that's what the applicant is seeking to vary. Next slide, please. Here are photos of the mobile unit that exists on site. Not too remarkable, just a mobile unit where food is prepared. Next slide, please. When issuing a variance, 3 findings are required. Staff is unable to make any of those variance findings. The first variance finding regarding practical difficulties. This use would face this same zoning variance request regardless of the location in the city. It's it's really driving the need for this variance, and it's created by the applicant. Second, looking at a reasonable use of the property. This is corridor 6 regarding the built form. 2040 plan is really incentivizing the pedestrian nature of this area, both through that goods and services corridor that Cedar Avenue is, as well as the PO overlay associated with this, the pedestrian oriented overlay. The intent of the PO overlay is to cater towards pedestrians walking and less to vehicles. As proposed, this use is certainly intensifying the number of vehicles associated with this principal parking facility here and the food use proposed to the rear. This area is near the University of Minnesota. There's large multifamily developments nearby. This area has a lot of pedestrians. Getting to the third finding regarding the essential character, really the walkability on this area, the block face and having a very active use really contributes to this. This property in mention is a little unusual in that most of the area is built right up to the front lot line. In the rare breaks in that facade, it's typically an active accessory use, whether that's a green space or a patio space associated with a restaurant or bar. So having a surface parking lot's already kind of unusual for this area, and then further intensifying the auto dependency of that use really kind of detracts from that essential character of the area. We're also looking at health, safety, welfare of the area. Just given that this use, I mean, if it does really well, who knows how many cars may be coming into and out of this parking lot without seeing traffic counts and looking at this area, generally speaking, there could be a significant increase in cars passing over this public sidewalk to get this food. And that very well may be injurious to pedestrians walking in this area. So with that, staff recommends denial of this request. I'll be here for questions. The applicant is also present.
Thanks for that presentation, Mr. Liska. Are there any questions of staff? I am seeing no one. And so with that, I will open the public hearing, and I believe we have two of the applicants on the call, as well as a couple other people. I'll start off with Mr. Bender, and if you could give I forgot to ask the previous callers if they could give both their name and address for the record. So if you could press *6 to unmute yourself and then give your address, your name and address for the record. Mr. Bender? Mr. Bender, if you could press *6 to unmute yourself. I think we'll skip over him for the moment. Ms. Stinson, are you able to press *6?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Oh, Mr. Bender?
This is Anthony Bender.
Yes.
My address is 1367 Willow Street, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am a launch manager with Reef. I am actually going to defer to Joel Carlson or Sam Stinson, who are also on the call to speak on my behalf. But I am here for questions if there are any after their address.
Well, Okay, so we'll just put you in the queue and see if you want to speak after the other two speak. Ms. Stinson, are you able to press *6 to unmute yourself?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Samantha Stinson, and I am Head of Public Affairs for Reef Technology. Reef's vision is to connect the world to your block. And where many see a parking lot, we see endless possibilities. We see more than a lot. What we do is we transform underutilized urban spaces into neighborhood hubs that give people reliable access to healthy, affordable, safe, and culturally appropriate food. By doing this, we are leveraging the power of proximity to keep our communities moving forward in a sustainable and thoughtful way. We know that neighborhoods and businesses are facing unprecedented challenges and an uncertain future. The Reef platform enables underutilized real estate to be tailored to meet the diverse needs of the surrounding neighborhood. We have built our foundation on top of traditional parking infrastructure, allowing us to get essential products and services closer to the customer than ever before. We see the challenges faced by many small businesses, entrepreneurs, and nonprofits in Minneapolis, and we are here to be good community partners. The Reef Kitchens platform and concept provides existing restaurants with the opportunity to expand their scope of delivery and enhance their operations. The Reef Kitchens platform also lowers barriers to entry for new restaurateurs to develop virtually delivery-only concepts. In a time when the restaurant industry is struggling, the Reef Kitchens platform is specifically seeking to provide an alternative means for the restaurant industry to generate revenue, satisfy delivery demands, and employ restaurant industry workers. The two vessels operations located at 519 Cedar Avenue employs over 20 local residents and provides opportunities for restaurant partners to reach a broader consumer base through the Reef Kitchens delivery network. Our current operation at the property utilizes technology tools to streamline the food delivery process, allowing restaurant partners access to technology tools to facilitate food delivery and geographic expansion of food delivery distribution. The individuals employed by Reef Kitchens on the property also develop skills in association with the technology tools that will serve them in growing with the technological advancements of the growing restaurant industry. I would like to close by saying Reef Kitchens helps local restaurants thrive. We help amplify their existing brick and mortar presence with a symbiotic strategy that expands their reach, revenue, and brand equity. Thank you.
Thanks for that testimony. Mr. Carlson, if you would press *6 to unmute yourself and give your name and address for the record and your testimony. Mr. Carlson? Again, if you could press *6 to unmute yourself. I'm going to go back to Mr. Bender. Are you still on the line, Mr. Bender?
Yes, hello, I am still here.
Mr. Carlson is not responding, so I'm going to ask if you want to make any comments, remembering if you've been following along with some of the other applications, there's this notion of practical difficulties that we have to find for to legally grant variances. And I'm wondering what the staff is making the claim that there is no practical difficulty among the due to the due to the code. So do you have anything to say to speak to that?
Through the star 6 code, this is Joel Carlson.
Oh, okay, Mr. Carlson, do you want to speak? We've already
Thank you.
heard from Ms. Stinson.
Yep, and I've heard everything, but for some reason the star 6 wasn't working, and I've rebooted it and got in. I appreciate your time. My name is Joel Carlson. I own a legal research and government affairs business. My address is 6 West 5th Street, Suite 700, St. Paul, Minnesota. And I'm here on behalf of Reef Technologies, and I've represented them on government affairs and permit related issues. And I appreciate the staff report. We did, consistent with your rules, submit a written response to the staff report, and I obviously won't go through all of that, but we do think that not only do we align well with the 2040 plan in several areas of business innovation and food access and employment, but we also think that there is a practical difficulty for what we're trying to accomplish. And what we're trying to accomplish is to allow our kitchen vessels to remain on site overnight, which other mobile vehicles are allowed to do with an accessory use. But we've been in business, we're operating there, we know the traffic, we think we're compatible with the neighborhood. But what the business in practicality right now is that every single night we have to pick up this trailer and remove it to a commissary kitchen. The practical difficulty for restaurants getting into business right now, the need we're trying to fill, is trying to invest in a full commercial kitchen in this environment, and that just doesn't work. And so I think there is a practical difficulty for what we're trying to do, as pointed out by Ms. Stinson, and that's number one. I just think that what we're trying to do, which is being done in different places in the city, they just happen to be at a distillery. We're not doing anything different. We're trying to find a way to work within the code, to make this model work and successful. We employ about 20 people on this site, and we want to be good partners with the city and make this, move forward. So that's why we're here with this variance request. We felt this was the best way in talking with staff to get the issue in front of the city. It may be an imperfect way to go about it, but that's the route that we agreed to follow with staff, and that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, are there any questions of Mr. Carlson from the board? I see none. Thanks for the testimony. Mr. Bender, do you have any closing comments you'd like to make?
Thank you. I do not have any more comments.
Okay, and we have one more person in queue to speak, and that is Ms. Starr. If you'd press star 6 to unmute yourself and to give comment.
My name is KJ Starr. I'm the Business Services Director of the West Bank Business Association. We are located 1501 South 4th Street. Our organization serves and represents the nearly 200 businesses in the West Bank neighborhood, the majority of which are small, independently owned businesses. We oppose this variance request. We feel that Reef Kitchen should not have the rights of a permanent structure when it shares none of the challenges of being a storefront or responsibilities of being part of our community. Reef Kitchen doesn't have a dining room that has been shut down this year or has to be kept COVID safe for customers. Reef Kitchen doesn't have to worry about having their windows smashed, as many of our businesses have this summer. They don't have to pay rent for having a brick and mortar business. Neither have they contributed to our community. When our businesses and residents banded together to form a watch to protect our neighborhood this summer, Reef Kitchen had nothing to worry about. After all, they could just drive away. Their business is based not on serving people in the neighborhood or cultivating relationships here, but rather on using our neighborhood real estate to make money delivering food elsewhere. There are not findings to support granting this variance request. The practical difficulty faced by Reef Kitchen in conforming to the zoning code is that it is expensive to build and maintain a building. We know our businesses all have to do this, and why shouldn't Reef Kitchen? The proposed use is not reasonable and not consistent with the comprehensive plan. In fact, the proposed and current use is offensive to the neighborhood. The use as it exists disrupts both vehicular and pedestrian traffic. In addition, it does not use the Cedar Avenue facing space in a way that engages the neighborhood or increases the vitality of our business corridor. The use treats Cedar Avenue like a back alley pickup zone rather than contributing to a thriving commercial corridor. 3, the use has already been detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of our community. We at the WBBA have worked hard with community partners to do things like slow traffic on Cedar Avenue to make it safer for pedestrians, increase walkability, activate storefronts, and create better infrastructure for bicyclists. Reef Kitchen undermines all this work. It creates a traffic mess of confused delivery vehicles looking for a brick and mortar business on Cedar Avenue. It has no storefront on Cedar and makes the avenue less walkable. It is unpleasing to look at. They have made no effort to be a contributing beneficial part of our community, and we ask that you deny the variance request.
Thanks for that testimony. And with that, I think we have everyone who is signed up to speak on this item. So I will close the public hearing. Is there any board comment or any questions of staff? Mr. Sandberg.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Perry, and for your presentation, Mr. Liska. I was just wondering, is there any zoning district within the city where this use in this business model would be permitted?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff or board comment on this request? Mr. Hutchins and then Ms. Wang.
Thank you, Chair Perry. One question for staff. If it was a honest to God food truck and it moved or could move, I guess, would it fit the compliance or would it still be out of compliance?
It would still be out of compliance. It would still be needing the same variance request to the enclosed building standards.
Okay, so then how do the ones at the distilleries go?
Sure. Well, the distillery or the bar or the brewery is the principal use, and then the food truck would come as an accessory use. Again, since this is a parking lot, it can't be accessory to a parking lot, so it's its own principal use.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you for that info.
Yep.
Ms. Wang, you have a comment?
Yes. So, I mean, the topic of restaurants being able to thrive is really personal to me, and I understand the challenges that many restaurants are facing during these times, with wheels or without wheels. And also, I understand one of the public comments about that cultural and community bonds of a brick and mortar restaurant. But ultimately, I do support staff findings, and part of this is I don't see any practical difficulties, and also among the other issues that the staff has laid out. And what I think is really happening here is there's a policy change that is needed to speak to something of this particular instance, and that is beyond the ability or scope of our board.
Thanks for that comment, Ms. Wang. Anybody else like to weigh in on this? Mr. Ogiba.
Thank you, Chair Perry. I just want to support Board Member Wang's comments as well, in that I'm supportive and believe staff properly looked at this and agree with their findings in this situation.
Thanks for that comment, Mr. Ogiba. Mr. Softly.
Thank you, Chair Perry. I just want to voice my support for staff's position, and I'll say that as someone who cycles through this neighborhood, I can tell you that it is rather tricky with all the traffic and the driving that already exists. And in general, one of my biggest fears in cycling is cars frequently pulling in and out of driveways. And if this is going to enhance that behavior in a neighborhood designated for pedestrian-oriented overlay, then I have a hard time supporting it, even if there were more findings in favor of the applicant, which there are not.
Thank you for those comments. Anyone else want to weigh in? I would entertain a motion then.
I'll move staff findings. This is Sandberg.
It's moved. Is there a second?
Second, Finlayson.
Seconded.
I think Mr. Finlayson got there first with a second. So it has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Before I do so, Chair Perry, if you'll allow me, I just wanted to apologize for my gaffe earlier. I didn't mean to interrupt, and I certainly apologize for Mr. Liska. It's just, that is a truly epic beard. So my apologies. But with that, I'll continue with the roll call. So Board Member Finlayson.
Aye.
Hutchins.
Aye.
Johannesson.
Aye.
Ogiba.
Yes.
Sandberg.
Aye.
Softly.
Aye.
Padova.
Aye.
Wang.
Aye.
That's 8 yeas.
So the motion passes, and that means the request is denied per staff findings. And Mr. Bender, you can see staff assigned to this, which would be Mr. Liska, for what your options are going forward. Let's move on to agenda item number 8, which is 5401 Wentworth Avenue. And we have Ms. Roman presenting.
Thank you, Chair Perry and members of the board. Item number 8 is for 5401 Wentworth Avenue. This is an approximately 6,000 square foot reverse corner parcel that is currently zoned R1A multiple family district and Interior 1 built form overlay district. On the site, there is an existing single family structure and an attached garage. Next slide, please. The surrounding area is somewhat varied. So directly south and north of Diamond Lake Road is primarily low density single and multiple family residential uses. There are some medium density residential uses along Diamond Lake Road, and 2 blocks to the east at the intersection of Diamond Lake Road and Nicollet Avenue is a commercial node. There's also some R5, R4, and R2B zoned properties. Next slide, please. So this slide is the survey provided by the applicant. It shows the structure to the east and the structure to the south that are establishing the front yard setbacks. And next slide, please. The area shown in maroon on this slide is demonstrating the areas of the property that are currently developable under code. So they would not need a variance on the lot if they were constructing within this maroon area shown. Next slide, please. The proposal being considered by the board this evening is to construct an addition to the existing single-family dwelling on the property. The proposed addition would expand the basement level, main level, and second floor of the existing structure, extending the structure toward the reverse corner front property line, which is the northern property line along Diamond Lake Road. On the basement level, the existing attached garage would be expanded from a single stall garage to a 2-stall garage with access into the dwelling being added. The proposed garage would front onto Wentworth Avenue, and the existing driveway and curb cut onto Diamond Lake Road would be removed. On the main and second levels, the existing structure would be expanded 12 feet toward the northern property line, and then a 150 square foot deck would then extend beyond the structural addition and would essentially cover the roof of the garage addition on the main level. The attached garage and deck are proposed to be located approximately 13 feet from the reverse corner front property line, which is that northern property line. And the main and second story of the single family dwelling are proposed to be 17 feet from the reverse corner property line. If we could actually go back to slide 4, that maroon diagram. Thank you. So a variance is required in this case for the established reverse corner front yard. The property to the east of the subject site fronts onto Diamond Lake Road and establishes a front yard setback along Diamond Lake Road at 24 feet from the property line, where the applicant is proposing a 13-foot setback for the garage and deck and a 17-foot setback for the structural addition. And so we can advance to slide 6 to the variance findings. Staff finds that practical difficulties do not exist with complying with the ordinance because of circumstances unique to the property. Reverse corner lots may sometimes be considered a unique circumstance because the established front yard setbacks on 2 lot lines can severely limit developable area on a lot. However, for this parcel, the established front lot line along Diamond Lake Road does actually permit some expansion to occur on the lot that would meet all requirements of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances. So the issue in this case is really just the magnitude of the proposed addition that is requiring the need for a variance. There is also developable area located on the southern portion of the lot. Staff does not find the proposed variance to be in keeping with the comprehensive plan or the setback ordinance. These documents provide for orderly development, they minimize conflicts between uses, and they ensure adequate light, air, and open space and separation of uses. The location of the proposed addition in an established reverse corner side yard adds height and bulk on the lot where it will have an impact on the surrounding properties. These surrounding properties do have unobstructed front yards. No residential structures on this block have decks or structures that exist this close to the public right-of-way. The proposed addition would also decrease the amount of sunlight that reaches the neighboring property to the east. The proposed use would be injurious to the enjoyment of other property in the vicinity and would alter the essential character of the locality. The location and bulk of the proposed addition on the property would obstruct views along Diamond Lake Road for the neighboring properties, and the addition would also interrupt the street face along Diamond Lake Road, which disrupts the character and the development pattern of the block. The proposed variance would not be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the general public or of those utilizing nearby properties. So staff is recommending in this case denial of the application, and I will take any questions. I also have slides with floor plans of each proposed level of the addition if the board would like to view them.
Thank you, Ms. Roman. Are there any questions of staff? I am seeing none. Appreciate the presentation. We may get, during board comment, we may get some additional questions for you. So with that, I'll open the public hearing and I'll call out in order of the call-in queue that we have. First, we have Mike Eckert, who is an applicant, and if you could press *6 and give your name and address for the record, please, as well as your testimony.
Hello, my name is Mike Eckert. I am from Arcos Architecture and Design in St. Paul, 1039 Nebraska Avenue, St. Paul. I'm representing Kelly and Neil Olinger. Can you hear me?
Yes. Please proceed.
Very good. Thank you. So our practical difficulties are the reverse corner or the double setback issues and the current location of the existing home. There is, as staff noted, land to be developed to the south, but unfortunately doing that would negate any form of backyard for the property. And Neil and Kelly are a young couple that are interested in starting a family, and that would really eliminate any kind of backyard. So our practical difficulty is, eliminating a backyard. We are trying to alleviate access from Diamond Lake to a garage that exists, and our expansion at the garage level is in keeping with the existing setback there. We are doing whatever we can to minimize the setback of the first and second floor to create a reasonable living space to a house that has some deficiencies. It's an older home that has spaces that are just not modern in today's homes. So it is some planning there and the eliminating of a backyard. There's an existing screen porch in the backyard that, in order to make an attached garage happen, would eliminate that screen porch, which is a very nice option. We feel that there are some existing properties on Diamond Lake on the same side, the south side of Diamond Lake, that have setbacks that are as close as what we are proposing. Those are 5400 Wentworth Avenue and 5401 Pleasant Avenue. Yes, I believe that is what we have to say.
All right, thanks for the testimony, Mr. Eckert. Are there any questions from the board, Mr. Eckert? I see none. Thanks for that testimony again. Next in queue is Mr. Ollinger. If you could press *6 and give your name and address for the record, as well as your testimony.
Hello, this is Neil Ollinger, and I'm at 5401 Wentworth in Minneapolis. Can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Perfect. So as stated, we are looking to expand both to park off of Diamond Lake, and so we actually have off-street parking. Currently, our garage will not fit our compact vehicle. Our driveway barely does, and we want to remove that from Diamond Lake in totality and move to a 2-car garage off of Wentworth that can park modern vehicles that are not motorcycles with sidecars. In addition, the proposed addition to the south for a garage and any addition, while that's feasible, does remove any usable yard space. The option would be to, I guess, replace the yard on the Diamond Lake side, which seems strange if you want children playing in a yard next to a busy street. That does not seem safe. In addition, if we did the addition on the south side, that would require a complete remodel and restructure of the home's layout, which would be financially unlikely to us as a couple. So for those safety and financial reasons, we are looking to get the board's approval here for an addition, both for the garage, but as well for phase 2 for the kitchen and a bedroom on the second story. We also have neighbors who will be adding in comments later. We also met with our neighborhood council. While I don't think they made a formal recommendation of support, all of the comments during that meeting, which I believe have been passed along, were in support of our plans and addition. Thank you.
Are there any questions of the applicant? Mr. Sandberg.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Perry and Mr. Ollinger, for your testimony. I guess I would like to hear if you have any unique characteristics or circumstances on the south side of the yard beyond your desire to use it as a yard for your family, and the screen porch that's there, such as that's in the property itself. I guess I understand the screen porch, but in addition, are there mature trees there that would also preclude use of that and that are a benefit to the neighborhood?
Yes, this is Mike Eckert from Arcos, the applicant. Yes, there is a very large tree just located to the southwest of the screen porch. Very large mature tree with a great big canopy. You can see it in the photo that was provided by staff. And there are some photos close up of the house in our packet. That tree would definitely have to be removed. Trees where we are locating our garage, yes, there would probably be trees that needed to be removed also, but not as grand as the tree that is to the south and west.
Did that answered your question, Mr. Sandberg?
It does, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? I see none. Next in queue is Ms. McQuillan. If you could press *6 and give your name and address for the record and your testimony, please.
So this is Kelly McQuillan Olinger. I am Neil's wife, and I'm pass on my time. I think he somehow got signed up twice. So I'd like my neighbors to be able to talk because they've been waiting patiently in support of us.
Sure. Next in line is Ms. Keck. If you could press *6, again, same drill, name and address, and then your testimony.
Hi, my name is Laura Keck, and I live at 5400 Wentworth Avenue South. I've lived in the neighborhood 35 plus years, and I attended the Wyndham community neighborhood talk about what Kelly and Neil would like to do, saw the plans. I have no issues with what they plan to do. We have had some issues with our parking, so I totally understand why they would need to have a secured garage for their vehicles. We've lost parking due to a bike lane. We have neighboring apartment buildings and postal service, or the post office that has the carriers that come in and park in the neighborhood and overflow from the apartment building, and also a bus stop on my corner. And we get a lot of cars that come and park and hop on the bus. So need for parking is understandable. So I am in favor for what they are planning to do.
Thanks very much for that testimony. The next in queue is Mike and Casey Cervenka. If you could speak one at a time. Obviously, we can't visually see you, so, and this is being recorded, so if you could just give your name and address and then speak in order so that we can keep this somewhat orderly, please.
Hi, this is Casey Cervenka. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, so I'm the neighbor at the south side of Neil and Kelly Olinger at 5409 Wentworth. And I am also in favor of approving the variance for their addition on the north side of their property. As our other neighbor stated, it's using a section of their property which really isn't usable as a yard. And they don't have usable garage space or off-street parking currently. And as our other neighbor stated, the on-street parking is a challenge due to the heavy traffic on Diamond Lake Road, the bike lanes, the bus lines, the apartment buildings. They really do not have any adequate parking space on the street. And just also, I would agree with what Neil and Kelly shared, that the south side of the property really is their only usable yard space with mature trees. And if they were to build on that side of the property, they'd lose that. So we are in favor of them doing that.
Thanks for that testimony. And would Mike like to speak?
I just would agree with everything that Casey said. All those points are valid, and so we are definitely for this, for them getting that garage added.
Okay, thanks for your testimony. Next in queue is Jeff DuBois. If you could give your name and address for the record and then your testimony, please. And press *6 to unmute yourself. It appears that Jeff DuBois may not be online anymore. He was signed up to speak, but I'm getting indications that he may not be online. So I'll just do another call. If Jeff DuBois is there, if you could press *6.
Again, I did.
Okay, I'm going to, with that, those are all the people who signed up to speak on this item. So I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for board comment. Mr. Agiba.
Thank you, Chair Perry, fellow board members. Thank you, staff, for your presentation, as well as for all that called in to give testimony today. I look at this and actually I support the applicant in their request for variance in what I read in the report, as well as being familiar with the area and the testimony given by those who called in today. I see there, a couple of practical difficulties in this, and every time we have a reverse corner lot, there's different items and qualifications, I think, that change from situation to situation. And in this one in particular, some of the things that stood out to me when you think about just the amount of traffic on Diamond Lake Road, having its proximity there to the Nicollet commercial corridor, as well as a on and off ramp onto Interstate 35W, creates a great amount of traffic, both of a automobile standpoint as well as from a mass transit. So I see that as a practical difficulty in how we have to view this particular lot, looking at Diamond Lake, knowing that there's a very busy holiday gas station that's 1 block away from this, as well as a number of other traffic drivers in that commercial node, including a post office and things that bring in very regular heavy vehicular traffic to the area. Another thing that stood out in the report, and looking at this, I know that there may be perhaps building opportunities to the south that were discussed by staff. Looking at the positioning of the house and its lot at 5409 is moved to within 5 feet of its side yard setback there. I think anything that that the applicant may want to build or would look to build into the south of the space, suddenly you start getting very close to the home there, and it starts to encroach a little bit on that property, whether within the guidelines or not. I look at that, and that's positioning moved that far over in that lot as a practical difficulty that doesn't make sense for development to the south. Regarding some of the other points, in the city's in item 2 talked about the block face, and the being a reverse corner lot, the block faces was all discussed for Diamond Lake, even though this is a Wentworth address. This is the front of this house faces Wentworth, and the applicant is proposing taking a curb cut off of the busier street and moving that onto the side street, or the north-south in this particular instance. I think that is beneficial to the health and safety of the area, as well as beneficial for just a reasonable use. Although the applicant's description of a motorcycle and sidecar, made me curious as well. But that being said, I think it's much more practical for them to have that use, and I think it's actually a benefit in particular to the neighborhood. Let's see if I covered all of my points here. I think so. I will thank you for listening to me, and I will move on from there.
Thanks for those comments, Mr. Ogiba. Are there any other comments? Mr. Softly.
Thank you, Chair Perry, and thank you for the comments, Mr. Ogiba. I agree with everything that you have to say. I want to add, with respect to bulk airflow and light, I noticed that with the construction on the north side and with a rather wide setback on the Wentworth side with the existing street of Wentworth Avenue, the sun comes from the south in this latitude. I don't see a whole lot of blockage of sunshine upon the home that sits to the east, given the sun in the south and the latitudes. So I actually don't find that. I'm not convinced by staff's argument that light would be blocked in the neighboring home. And I also agree. I think taking a driveway curb cut off of Diamond Lake, where there's bike lanes specifically, that infrastructure is a net benefit. And I think that overall, the plans as submitted fit the character of the neighborhood, and I think they do enhance safety within the neighborhood.
Thanks for those comments. Anyone else? Any other board comment? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion. Mr. Ogiba.
Thank you, Chair Perry. With that, notwithstanding staff's findings, I would like to move in favor of the variance as applied for by the applicant. I will look to staff if it would like to use for findings the statements that were previously given by me and fellow board member Softly to fit both for all of our findings 1, 2, and 3, and ask if staff would need any additional elaboration in order to enter this motion.
Ms. Roman.
Thank you, Board Member Ogiba. No, your comments were clear, and I think we are comfortable with findings for 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you.
Okay.
I will second that motion. This is Sandberg.
You're seconding the motion, Mr. Sandberg?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Board Member Finlayson.
Aye.
Hutchins.
Aye.
Johannesson.
Aye.
Ogiba.
Yes.
Sandberg.
Aye.
Softly.
Aye.
Nikarova.
Aye.
Wang.
Aye.
That's 8 yeas.
And with that, the motion passes. So the request is passed, and you can proceed with your project as you desire. So good luck with your project, and we're done with all of our completed items on the agenda. I'll ask members and staff if there are any other matters to come before this meeting. I'm seeing none. So without objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Our next meeting will be February 18th, 2021. Thank you, everyone.